All right. Good evening, folks. Welcome to Fly Day Night Fun Night.
Friday night, is that the Chinese pronunciation or what?
Oh, you want puffer rice?
It's fly lies, you blick. So,
Uh,
oh,
sometimes I wish I could be a fly on the wall.
oh man.
Some
If
of
you,
these backroom hearings and discussions of what's really going on.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, interestingly enough, I don't know if you saw it or not. The current case that Chuck Schumer got himself in a shit ton of trouble in for standing out there and threatening two of the justices. Dumbass, you know.
Wow.
He Ruth Bader, even it was Ruth Bader Ginsburg of all people, was talking about who actually has standing to claim a right to a cause of action. I was listening to this as I'm, you know, traveling around, going, damn, are they really listening to the show? I think I need to maybe include a swear jar in this studio here somewhere if that's the case. But
I know we probably should clean it up a little bit, but we're real people. You
yeah,
know,
well, I
when
got some
when we hit
Windex
our
around
thumb
here
with the
somewhere. That's
hammer,
about as clean as that gets.
when we hit
So,
our thumb with the hammer, boy, howdy.
yeah, we're smart enough to know that it hurts. So, it's just interestingly enough, I'm going to put the link out here in my shares to the Mason's manual as I share the live stream. So, I've had plenty of people email me for it, and most of them are from Facebook. It's like, okay. So, me being proactive, I'm traveling, I'm going, got to figure out a way to get that out there, get it distributed a little better. Ah, I'll just put a link in the share of the show. That'll help. So,
uh,
you know,
and man, how
well,
old is that woman now?
oh my God.
She's like 80. I want to say she's like 87.
It's interesting though to watch her change her position on a lot of things because she really has. She's done kind of a flip flop,
Yeah.
in recent, with some of her recent decisions. I mean, yeah, she's still on the liberal side, but you know, she's actually moving way back more towards the kind of the center of the road there. And I don't care if you're a little bit on the liberal side. I mean, it is what it is. But
Well,
uh,
that's the interesting thing about this is our founders, the way they set up our form of government.
right,
And we go by the rule of law, not the rule of man. That's
yeah,
why we're a constitutional republic. We're not a
mhm,
democracy. Rights cannot be put to a vote.
no,
You cannot alter the fundamental law or the Constitution, except for by following the process that is due.
hmm,
In the federal, it's Article 5. Every state has an Article 5 section. It may not be Article 5 of the state constitution, but
right,
the process is still there
yeah,
to for the legislature, for Congress of the state to alter or amend the Constitution.
hmm.
But the people also have the power to make amendments to the Constitution,
Well, and here's
right?
the interesting part. Okay, so it's a good thing you brought that up because I was thinking about this
We're
earlier.
not supposed to have parties. We're not supposed to have different ideologies,
Right. So
right?
what
One
we have,
ideology.
what we have is, you know, one of the main questions I ask is, okay, where's your standing? And if you're talking about one of these titles that we know is Sharia garbage, um, can you show me the Article 5 convention that you convened and you got all the approval of all the states and the vote of the people to do that? And the answer is no, they can't. So, technically speaking, you've altered the fundamental law by congressional act, which we know you can't do, right?
Bingo.
So, hence the reason why all this FISA court and all this garbage, I think what ends up in happening with most of that is they just sunset it, right? Because,
Right. Right.
you know, what
Who's
happened
coming?
to all judicial power shall be vested in one Supreme Court,
Hmm.
right? So why aren't these cases of surveillance, whatever the hell that is, why aren't they going to the one Supreme Court? That's what the letter of the law says. Hence those pesky constitutional provisions that just keep working their way in there, right? So it's and ironically, judges are thinking about sitting back, and I'm sure they're thinking about this going, that's a good point, right? Congress, they can't alter the fundamental law. We've been telling them that for like hundreds of years here. They can't give away powers they don't have. They can't stick pillars of law here that don't exist in this republic, right? That's the fakers, the shift made up, and all of that, right? So,
Right.
yeah, okay, we see where you're going with this, and it's actually a good point. So, which kind of takes us to the New York side of this thing, which was like, well, if all judicial powers vested in one Supreme Court, which we totally get, that means the Supreme Court in New York, they call it Superior Court, I guess. And again, word salad, call it whatever you want. Why are you doing the job? Why do you have to do the job of the appellate division, which every other state has, but you guys don't? You guys should be doing Supreme Court stuff, Superior Court stuff, not appellate court stuff. So if that emolument doesn't exist here, and I think your populace would dictate that you need that, right? Don't you think we should fix that problem? So, that's why I said that's kind of the subject matter. In order to form that more perfect union, build the republic. Well, you got to have all the emoluments doing all the right things, because if they're not, thing ain't going to work. So that's so in essence, what we're doing is nationally, we're going to end up putting more work on the United States Supreme Court with all these surveillance cases, which are, um, I think, is going to ultimately end up going away, sunsetted. And in the on the New York side, we're going to be taking burden of responsibility off of the Superior Court, right? So it's that's why I said you're taking something here and putting it over here, and taking this over here and putting it over there, and oh yeah, okay, now I know why this is not working right. Gotcha. Okay, understood. So this is that whole cleanup mechanism, right? We already said um, Trump came out and said he's making all the cuts to the entitlement programs, right? Music to my ears. I don't know about yours, but that was music to my ears. He signed that. What is it? 8.3 uh, billion dollars today. I got the video
Yeah.
of it here. I'll share it if you guys want to see it. But all I'm thinking is, man, I hope my damn reciprocity's in there somewhere. So, because this whole bouncing around from case to case, from state to state, and you know uh just saying, okay, remember all that stuff that we've talked about that was excluded, those emoluments violations under Brady? Well, look what happens when we fill in the blanks. Now you tell me, does this not present a different picture? Oh yeah, kind of does.
Uh huh.
Good, right? So
Right.
that's my lane, right? That's what I do. Fill in the blank, right?
Yeah, and
So
that's the beauty of actually knowing the law
Mm-hmm.
and those maxims of law, that rule of law, those fundamental principles of law,
Right.
because again, it's the rule of law.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Not to rule by law, which is what Islam is. Right. That's rule by law, by force of law. Right. So, because that's what every one of these entitlement programs is. That's why they're the crime
yeah.
scene. So, you know, that's what I said. So, wait a minute. Let me get straight. You want me to go back to the crime scene to tell the bank robber you can't steal?
So this goes back to creating a nation. Um, in reading the Law of Nations, written by
Mm-hmm.
Amrity Patel, talks about you have to pick the religion
Mm-hmm.
for the nation, where what your ideology is. And so this is why Islam is an ideology. Christianity is an ideology. Catholicism is an ideology. Okay, Buddha, all of those different religions are ideologies, a set of morals and principles. So when setting up a nation, the law of the nation, that there's a religion that's picked, and this in history, which is what was going on with the Magna Carta, trying to separate from Catholicism, the Roman Catholic Church, and get back to the basic roots of Christianity, the morals and principles of Christianity, not interjecting the Catholic, the Roman Catholic ways, which has a lot to do with ecclesiastical law. And this is it's so rare to discuss how a nation is created, because very few nations in our history have been created, right? So
Yeah.
it's not an everyday thing. It's not even every 100 years a new nation is being created. We're talking once in a great while a new nation is created. But that's why we have our ideology of this nation is Christianity, laid down in the Virginia Declaration of Rights during the Second Continental Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's comprehending those four basic documents,
Right.
fundamental documents that create our nation: um, the Lee's Resolution, the Virginia Declaration of Rights, the Virginia Constitution, and then the ratification of the Lee's Resolution, and then the Declaration of Independence. That's all those declarations laying down the law and the Virginia Constitution, because Virginia, again, was established in 1603
Mm-hmm.
with the first charter of Virginia in 1606. The Virginia plan going back that far,
Right.
long time ago. So,
So, if we're talking about, right, the ideology, we
mhm,
already know that the emoluments violations are these are foreign emoluments under Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8 in the
right,
13th Amendment. That's how we get rid of them. What
right.
does the enactment of Title 4 violate? And here's the answer. Basically, going exactly to what you're saying. Starts in this sentence in the First Amendment: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion.
Yep.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's the violation right there. Opening sentence of the First Amendment.
Right.
That's what Title IV violates, these entitlement programs, right? So that's the Congress, right? You guys, Congress. That's why I said this started in Congress. I'm going to end it in Congress. That's my lane. Remember, when I come up there and break my 6-pillar manly firmness foot off in someone's ass, right? So the whole, I don't need a judge to tell me what I can't do. I already know what I can't do, right? I've been doing this. I've been dressing myself since I was 30. So, just saying.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the irony of, uh, my, the process that I follow you know,
Hmm.
that I did at work every day literally comes from the origins of the republic, due process of law. right? Hence the reason that I'm so comfortable making a presentation to a large body of people. Um, could that be because that was kind of part of my job? So,
Hmm.
you know, whether the idea was a good idea or a bad idea, it still needed to be presented. So, you know, don't think that there weren't a few ideas that didn't sound better in somebody's head. Trust and believe on that one. So that's just kind of the nature of the beast.
Yeah, it's just going back to the ideology part of things is, see, back to that Virginia Declaration of Rights is it declared in our form of government and our ideology is Christian love, forbearance, and charity
Right.
without the use of force and violence.
Hmm.
So this is our ideology of this nation. We're supposed to be a civilized society where everything is a civilized process.
Hmm.
Now they misconstrue part of the Bill of Rights. There is you have the right to demand the nature and the cause of action, whether it's criminal in nature or civil in nature. That's in nature, was it? And all that does is change the style of the jury,
Hmm.
whether it's a beyond a reasonable doubt, which you have to get unanimous consent from all 12, or if it's civil in nature, then you only have to get 3/4.
Hmm. So let's look at
But it's
the
still one, pursuant to the rules of the common law, one civilized process.
and those rules of the common law find their origins from what I call my short list, right? It's up to 80 some now, but I mean, it's still my short list. So,
But
as
if
part of
it,
the emoluments of my office, remember to know a thing and to be bound to know it are regarded in law as equivalent. So, if part of my job as an officer of the court when I'm on the clock, an oath has in it three components: truth, justice, and judgment. Truth in the party swearing every damn day, justice and judgment in the judge administering the oath. So if I'm administering the oath, I have to judge whether that person is who they say they are. And right, you see what I'm saying? So, you know, that's why I said, am I on the clock here or am I off the clock? Because if I'm on the clock, I already know the fundamental principles and, these things where they come from in law and why.
right?
Okay. So, you know, these are things you don't have to tell me. Right. And with what you were talking about, right? Um, Such a thing like loss prevention. Well, my intent gives a name to my act, right? What is my
Mm-hmm.
intent? To prevent loss prevention, right? So, what's the job description, right? Those malicious designs of men must be thwarted. So, um, another one, a wise man does everything advisedly, right? In other words, if we're going to make a judgment call, don't you think we should have all the facts? Hence the full disclosure. And I'm kind of a stickler for that. So, um, again, something we already know. No expectation can allure a good man to evil. We know this fundamentally, principally. Hello, McFly, right? Truth is the mother of justice, right? Lady Justice. Hence the reason, yeah, we know that. Okay, right? Um, a person is considered a possessor who has ceased possession through injury or fraud, right? So just because somebody took my rights away doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that they're not still mine, right? So the injury was by fellow servant. Remember the tax case. So that's why I was actually happy when that came out. I'm like, oh, thank you, God. I could make this so small and short and sweet. This is going to be cool. And I think a lot of you guys got it with that. So um, here's one. Everybody in family law should get this one. No prescription or statutory limit runs against a right by blood.
Bingo.
Okay. You know, um, where there is a right, there is a remedy,
Remedy.
right? You know, right cannot die. Doesn't say rights, it says right cannot die. Remember, there is the difference between right and wrong. Okay. So like you were talking about, what was it in the after show? Read versus read, right? Read the book, or I read the book, spelled exactly the same, right? This is another version of how language can be altered. Context changes a thing, right? So,
Now, there's a question here. Why does the law still use Latin? Well, here's the thing. This is the rule of law. These are fundamental principles of law, right?
right.
These rule over law
Yeah,
because these are supposed to be common sense principles.
right. And they take their origins from the language of Lady Justice, which is Latin,
Like
right?
what goes up must come down.
That's right. So,
But
again,
these
as a
these are principles of law.
right. So if I'm going to use a court for something, right, I already know
And
uses
they
of
they they were
fiduciary ownership.
originally written in Latin, and that's why we're
Mhm.
showing them right here is Latin translate into English is because it was originally written in Latin.
Yeah. So,
So it's
you
not
know,
it's not law. This is the rule of law. These are again principles of law. A repugnant act cannot be brought into being. That is, cannot be made effectual. Well, that just makes sense, right? If it's repugnant, it can't be brought into being.
that's
It's
right.
void for any effect because that's fraud. It's an usurpation of power.
Well, it might not even not even, and again, there's two things that quash everything: fraud and, of course, bad faith, right? If you made a bad faith, if you entered into a contract in bad faith, right, you will have no
It's still
expectation of
fraud.
enforcement. Well, again, tomato, tomato. It is what it is.
It still
So,
falls under fraud.
well, of course it does. But those things are interchangeable, right? Read, read. The only thing that changes it is the context of the of surrounding. Are we talking about the intention, or are we talking about the act? So, the intention was bad faith. The act was fraud. So, here, but another one.
Right.
Everyone is the manager and disposer of his own matters.
Love
So,
that one.
you know, can you perform your administrative duties? Right. This is in essence what this is saying. So, when I started to use these as opposed to stare decisis as a way to fundamentally and principally explain my logic versus utilizing case precedent, which is what bar members do, this is speaking in the language of justice, the language of Lady Justice, right? The integrity, protecting the integrity of the court. So,
But what's odd here is a lot of these maxims of law actually come from the Bible.
oh yeah, here's one.
Just so you know.
Speaking of Title IV, right? Violating that First Amendment, that it is a cursed construction that corrupts the text. Is that not, in essence, what that malicious design, that um, business practice diagram I created, is that not, in essence, exactly what that is? That's a true representation of this maxim right here, right? So, again, that's also could be construed as the torture or twisting of laws is the worst kind of torture, right? Stop me if you've never thought any of this stuff, right? So,
A lot
great
of it
fault
is
or
common sense,
gross, yeah, great fault or gross negligence is the equivalent of fraud. I'd buy that for $1. That's a
right?
fundamental principle of law, right?
Fraud for 400, please.
Right? Here's one of my personal favorites. In order to rightly comprehend a thing, it is necessary to first inquire into the names. For a right knowledge of things depends on their names, right?
That
So,
that right there that thwarts that word salad.
right.
You're gonna use
Here's
that word. Well, what the heck does that word actually mean? So we can all comprehend it.
exactly. So if we're going to follow the law, we should follow our own law rather than a foreign law in this nation
Oh,
called America, right?
would that be Islam
Yeah,
or
exactly.
a monarchy,
Fundamentally, principally.
a
So,
socialist country,
mhm,
nation?
I don't really like statutes, ordinances, and all that other bullshit, but I mean, let's just call the spade a spade because there is a provision in the Mason's Manual for Statutes and like that. So, okay, we'll pay it its due respect. When the words of an ordinance can be made true in their true signification, they ought not be warped to a foreign meaning,
Yep.
right? So stop trying to take that word salad and construe it to mean what it doesn't, right? Putting shit in there that doesn't belong, basically.
Yep.
Common opinion is double. That proceeding from discreet men, which has much truth in it, and that proceeding from foolish, vulgar men without any semblance of truth in it, right? So the difference of, well, a lie by omission is still a lie. It is what it is. So if that would be an emoluments violation under Brady, right? Um, again, studying the art of war. If I conquer your conqueror, by so much more do I conquer you, right? Another one of my personal favorites, reason in law is the perfect equity, right? It doesn't get any better than reason. Logic, reason. I'd made a good computer, don't you think? So,
Uh, you have
speaking
your
of,
flaws.
right? Well, that's the blue screen of death. So, uh, if we're going to talk about equity,
404 error, file not found.
right?
The older we get, I keep getting that 404 file not found.
I hate it when that happens. So, if we're going to talk about the
I
equity
used to know
scale,
that.
yeah, my granddad used to say, if I could remember half of what I forgot, I'd be in good shape. So,
Right.
here's one: equity wishes the plundered, the deceived, and the ruined, above all, to have restitution. Well, I guess that means that establishes a fundamental principle as to why I said, hey, take care of my clients first. My kids are okay. Yes, I miss them, but they're okay with their mom. They're not in any danger, right? That's a There are people out there that are in a hell of a lot worse situation than I am. So again, knowing what you know the crime of plundering or looting is slavish, innocence alone is free. So you know um a concealed intention is an evil one. I like that one too, right? That's that, selective exclusion of shit. So here's one: an error of law injures. You bet your ass it does. Excess in law is condemned. There's two of these that contradict each other. There's one that says excess in law is condemned, and then also another one that says too much subtlety right here. Too much subtlety in law is condemned, right? So again, there's the this is the minimum standard, right? And you go over and above too high, right? You're still outside of, that's why I said, the Constitution is the supreme law, but the minimum due process. So this right here, these two fundamental principles establish in, in law exactly that point, right? So if we're going to do anything, right, what's the margin that we have to work within, right? So when you read the preamble, provide for the common defense. Um, well, by notation, you know, we don't need a, I don't need some bar member to tell me how the hell to do that. I've been doing that for myself since, you know, oh, 1 or 2 years now. Got pretty good at it. So here's one that's problematic for bar members. A person is guilty of barratry who sells justice for money. Is that not exactly what Title IV does?
Ooh.
Tell me I'm wrong, Kirk. Is that not exactly what Title IV does? Right? That's those bills of attainder, right? Selling justice for money. So,
Right.
you know, again, There was one in here that had to do with transactions. Maybe I passed it. Um, do, 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 do. Here's one. Merchandise is whatever can be sold, right? Another good one that I like. A precedent accomplishes nothing if it settles one dispute by raising another.
Hmm.
So this actually kind of shatters the shit out of their stare decisis argument, right? Because
Well,
we already
the thing
know a
is,
special law detracts from the general law, right?
the
We
thing
know
is in
that,
our form of government, the judicial branch doesn't have the power to make law.
right? Only thing they
A
have the power.
monarchy does
Mm-hmm.
through their alleged through their judicial side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Well,
they do make the common law through what would be called the judicial branch, but they don't necessarily have a judicial branch.
that's right. So,
They have the king, the
yep,
prince, parliament, and the bar.
right. So, again, writing contracts in commerce, here's one that's fundamentally and principally has been freaking stapled to my door for like ever, right? What I cannot do in my person, I also cannot do through the agency of another. That means through a contract of another, right? So, um, law does not command useless things because useless labor is foolish. You know, that's why I said, stop me if if you've heard some of these things. Here's one: the remedy of law, or yeah, the remedy of the law lies open to all within or subject to the realm who ask for it.
Right.
Seems pretty reasonable to me, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And
This one right here, folks.
the process of law is a heavy hardship. The execution of the law crowns or rewards, meaning the work. So if you don't do the
Work.
work, yeah, if you're not going to do the work, don't expect to be crowned, rewarded.
So this goes right back to we get it that this is hard to comprehend this stuff because of all the shit made up over the last couple hundred years and then
Oh,
some.
yeah.
But we got to get back to the basics, right? The fundamental
Mhm.
principles of law, the rule of law, these maxims of law right here will kick the crap out of a lot of fraud. Okay.
Oh,
A
yeah,
lot of
big
the
time.
misunderstandings, malfeasance, misfeasance. Okay. So we need to start using these maxims of law in our paperwork as a rule of law, these principles that can't be changed, they can't be altered, they can't
Mhm.
be avoided, right?
Right. So again,
So we get it that this is a heavy hardship to learn this, to do the paperwork, and to file it and properly, right? It's got to be properly done.
that's right. So
I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but all
no,
the basic elements have to be there in
right,
in somewhat of a proper format.
right. The fact that, I said you guys want to play license and fiduciary and monopoly corporation. Um, well, that's what I get for opening my big mouth because they're like, okay, smartass, show us what you got. And that's exactly what I did. And they went, oh shit. So,
Right,
you
John?
know, the whole, you know, transactions between others can benefit, but should not injure anyone who is not party to them. Again, transacting business, yeah, that was kind of like part of the job once or twice anyway, an hour, so I, I think when you're writing a contract and you're transacting business, there's one you probably should know. So, it's that's why I said, I mean, my joke of, the Republicans will miss every shot and the Democrats will die anyway based on these principles alone. This is exactly what I'm talking about right here. That's why I'm going down the short list with you. So, always in doubtful cases, that is to be done by which a bona fide contract may be in the safest condition, except when it has been drawn up clearly contrary to law. right? So contracts under Title IV at all, I don't give a damn what letter it is. They're drawn up contrary to law, period. They've got no standing. Get rid of it. It's crap. It's junk. So he who acts under the cloak of the law, who acts unjustly, should bear double punishment. Now, I'm gonna point out, this is again me. This doesn't say a judge who acts under the cloak of the law. This says he who acts under the cloak of the law, right? Because color of law, those multitudes of new offices, those that sending hither swarms of
Well,
officers,
again,
right?
it's he who acts. So actors.
Right. Actors under the cloak of law, right? They're acting under some color of law, some shit made up, right? So those are the ones that we want to bear double punishment. There's a maxim of law for that. I don't need a
Mhm.
starry-eyed decisis case precedent to tell me that. Hell, it's a fundamental principle or maxim of law. It's even
Yep.
mentioned in the Declaration of Independence, for God's sake. So, you
So if
know,
the sentence is death, then how do you double punishment? Kill him
yeah.
twice?
Well,
Sentence him to death twice?
yeah, there you go. 2 life
Death by
sentences.
firing squad. All right, we
Right.
shot him dead. Stand him back up.
Yeah. Hang him this time. So, a person who gives an end gives the necessary means to that end. This is one that, a lot of us programmers use that, that this kind of gets I actually take my origins with this from Oppenheimer's work. You remember the guy who was credited for inventing the atomic bomb, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. So,
Yeah.
you know, this one is actually very surreal to me personally, just because of, this creation, this code that I created. I know all I got to do is push a few extra buttons and I can kill it if that's required. So, you know, this goes to anybody who does any kind of programming or coding,
That'd
builds
be
in safeguards.
Control Alt Delete.
Yeah, alternate F4. Just saying, you know, but there's things you build
Command
into
Pop
the syntax.
Deltree.
Yeah, there's things you build into the syntax that allow you as the programmer to kill the code. So, um, the will and purpose distinguish the crimes. This goes to what you were talking about when we first got into the show, right? What is the intent, right? Is that criminal in nature? Is it civil in nature, right? So, whatever the purpose, right? That's what distinguishes the crime, criminal or civil, right? A high crime or misdemeanor. Corruption of the best is the worst, right? Speaking of corruption, there we go. Right, we've corrupted the letter of the law with these bullshit titles and entitlement programs and Sharia shit. The crime of treason exceeds all other crimes in punishment. Why is this significant? And the
Because that's a
answer is,
traitor.
well, and the answer is, I don't give a damn who did what. If treason is present, that gets
Key
punished
blocks on.
first. Yeah. If treason is present, that shit gets punished first. Right.
Right.
So,
So question out there: are these specific maxims of law here? You have this in a Word document.
oh yeah.
You
Yeah, it's
have this
published.
on eClause
Hmm.
Facebook page
Yeah.
or group.
Yeah. Should be out there. Matter of fact, I think I've even published it in comments. Just referred to it as the short list. So,
Right.
and
We got a couple of people out here asking about it, so
oh, okay. So the
just want to
intention is,
let them know where this particular Word doc is at. That's
yeah, this is
has
all
all
the,
these listed in it.
yeah, that this in this document
And
is just this, nothing else.
right,
So the intention is
this is
punished.
the short list that Chris and I started.
Right. Hence,
One
yeah,
of
there's,
those nights that we sat there for what 3.5, 4 hours,
well,
whatever.
these
Man, it
are,
was probably longer than that.
yeah, these are just, and these I've used in every one of my documents. collectively. So
Yeah.
if I use a legal maxim, it gets put on the short list. So, because you can tell I've been doing this a while now.
Yeah,
So,
I was going to say we
other,
started out with like what, 40 or 50
actually,
a
I
couple
started
years ago.
with the original 56,
Yeah,
which was the signification of 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence,
right.
which is why I put 56 in the original document. You believe it or not, there was only one judge that actually got that.
Huh.
Only one. So, that's why I said these guys, if you do it and you do it and do it to, I'm going to stop right here just for a second because, if you look at these bar members and you read their documents, they read like dry paste and they want, seriously, they do. It's just like anyone, class, anyone. So if you're to look
What?
at something like that and wonder why the hell nobody's reading it, uh, uh, well, again, now I'm not saying you have to put all kinds of fancy little squirrels and their little, squiggles on there and make it look all pretty like this, but you know, stuff like this is, it's so old it's new again, right? This is just that tax case. I happen to have it up on the screen, and but it just signifies, it shows, it signifies, remember the four corners thing, right? So, but this is what makes it interesting for them, because by the time they get through this preface they're going, ooh, I want more. So, you know and you notice this, I don't know if I've actually, some of you guys who are just joining this probably haven't really seen too much of this, so I'll run through it again, right? These idiot bar members, they love their starry-eyed deceases. Okay, fine, I'll start with that, right?
Right.
Emoluments violations under Throckmorton in my personal capacity,
Be
Hale
right
v.
back.
Hinkle in my official capacity. Everybody happy? Good.
I love Hill versus Henkel.
Right. So, in these cases, the entire opinions are appendicized in tabs 3 and 4. What's tab 1? Tab 1 is, that evidence, the actual tax filings from year 2009, right? So, it's like, okay. So, and I think tab 2 was maybe the Hobbs Act or something. Anyway, it's further down in here, but this is the predication, right? The My thought process for preparing this document, my logic and reason, right? My motivation, if you will, right? Predicating this grievance pursuant to the following due process and judicial civil rules of procedure as follows, right? We already know what affirmative defenses are, and the intention is to preserve certain defenses, right? So, I mean, it's very, very simple, right? Because these things happened, you know, technically the injury is by fellow servant, you know, because if I'm on the clock, you want to say I'm on the clock, no problem, right? Hence the whole dead entity corporation thing, right? So that's why I said you want to play Monopoly Corporation with the guy whose job it was to run one. That's not going to end well for you. As is the current claim against me originating from Ohio in the year 2009. I mean, so basically, I'm being punished for saying keep the change. You didn't have to get any further than that to go, I know exactly what he's talking about. So, stated my grievance right there. That's a paragraph, guys, right? Less is so much more. So, and of course, what's the law say about this? So, you know, you've got all the elements of everything that we've been teaching you guys since we've started this, literally on one page, and 2-inch margins all the way around, might I add. Let me zoom back out on that just for the sport of it. So, you know, I was having fun with this because, remember, in loss as a loss prevention manager, I'm looking at a sheet of paper with 2-inch margins go around it, going, "What the hell are you wasting so much paper for? My God, you're killing me! You know how much money you're costing me, Jesus!" Oh, wait a minute, this is law. That's right. crap. Four corners. All right. So, you know, I uh I still have a problem with wasting so much paper though. I have a problem with waste. Just maybe that's just the inherent dad in me, but I don't know. But anyway, this is just uh yeah, you're right. Looks do matter, but the other interesting thing about this that I've been finding is if you make it legible and don't just this person's a piece of crap and they're a son of a bitch and here's why and da 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 da. You don't have to go into all that, right? That's what the evidence, the appendix does. That's why it speaks for itself. So, um, you want to fight for the republic, right? Well, in your states that utilize Masons, you want to claim those constitutional provisions. How do you do that? Okay, well, let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about those pesky constitutional provisions that are kind of mandatory, right? They stand on a higher plane than statutes. There it is, right there, right? Um, if a Congress or state legislature violates a constitutional requirement, the courts will declare its enactment void. So if you want them to do that, you bring it before the body that created it, right? And say, hey, dumbass, you didn't have the power to alter the fundamental law, right? So if this does have to get to a court, I've already bared witness to the fraud. Do I have to go and show up and testify in the witness stand? Remember, we examine the emoluments of a courtroom, right? That's why it's called a witness stand, right? Not a complainant stand, right? So, and in a courtroom, you're in the rules of the common law, if you're arguing man versus man, you have the plaintiff and you have the respondent, right? But in the context of something like this, a major project, if I'm going to bear witness to Lady Justice, right, and I want to claim this constitutional provision, in how you do that. So, um, you know, as we move forward in here, where there is more than a mere technical violation of the rules, oh, we've definitely proven that. I mean, it is what it is. So I don't care if you want to call it fraud or if you want to call it bad faith or both. I could care less. It's still crap, still garbage. Get rid of it. So, in you're going to talk about the difference between their statutory word salad and all of their UCC code and all of that other shit made up arbitration and blah blah blah. Anyway, all the garbage that is not American jurisprudence. Let me just put it that way. Rules of the common law, right? You're going to claim the common law. Well, the common law of parliamentary procedure is founded upon well established and reasonable usage, right? It does not rest upon mere custom, but upon reasonable and equitable custom, right? This one's actually made it to the short list. What is not reasonable is not law, right? May be said with reference to the common law of order in deliberative bodies as well as the common law of the land. So what I just did here from page 29, section 35, number 3 of the Mason's Manual, right? I just did took from the book exactly what I've been doing since I started this, including a legal maxim, right? So, yes, if we're going to work in the common law, right? Common law, those fundamental principles of law, right? Oh, there's one. There must be no fraud, trickery, deception resulting in injury, right? As in any other situation, a person is liable for damage or injury intentionally or negligently caused to another,
Right.
right? So, again, just to put you guys on notice, right? I am claiming and exercising a defense that, oh, and by the way, I know this fundamentally, principally. Here's the book. So, again, this is why I love this. This doesn't have a darn thing to do in the world with any one particular actor. This is the fundamental rule of law in the republic, right? So here's another one of our personal favorites. The people are vested with sovereign authority expressed by their representatives serving in the legislature. So I guess so much for that sovereign citizen bullshit, right? Thus, legislative power is absolute and unlimited except as restrained by Constitution. So, in other words, if we want them to go in there and say, yes, we want this garbage eliminated, some bar member is going to come up, well, you can't do that. You can't do that. The hell they can't. They have the power to get rid of the shit made up, right? So just because you come in here and sold a bill of goods, some snake oil salesman, and I caught your ass, and we're getting ready to get rid of it. Now you're jumping up and down, whining and screaming, making more shit up. Sovereign citizen. Yeah, okay, whatever. As far as cause for the legislative body to get rid of this shit, right? A legislative
Yep.
body can ratify only such actions of its officers, committees, or delegates as it had the right to authorize in advance. It cannot ratify or make valid anything done in violation of the Constitution. What amendment did I just point out Title IV was a violation of? That's right, the First Amendment. So here we go again, those pesky constitutional provisions. Damn it, Jim. Thwarted again.
Yep.
So no motion or measure is in order that conflicts with the Constitution of a state or the U.S. Constitution or with the treaties of the United States. If such motion or measure be adopted, even by unanimous vote, it is null and void. It's void ab initio from its inception, right? This is how you bring it proper before a court. If you're going to make those constitutional arguments, by all means, please do that. But you got to do
These
it the correct
those
way.
principles.
Yeah, right. This is again, and this is on there, page 353, section 517, number one. Right. I even took the stuff from the book and I made it so easy. All I got to do is open to the page to verify it. So, I go and I make a little short political argument, right? Talk about that conduct of a tyrant, right?
There's that void ab initio out there, YouTube.
Yeah, there it is.
Somebody on YouTube said they used that void ab initio the other day. So there you
Right.
go, right there.
Yeah.
No motion or measure is in order that conflicts with the Constitution or of a state or the U.S. Constitution or with treaties of the United States. And if such motion or measure be adopted, even by unanimous vote, it is null and void.
That's right.
Void ab initio.
So,
Void from its inception.
Right. So, ironically, my, knowing that these actors are doing the same shit with this de facto corporate government that they've been doing for, 1 or 200-ish years, right? Because I'm calling it out as what it is. All caps corporation. I know what an all caps corporation is, dummy. I worked at one. So this is back to the letter of the law, right? Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, hence the invasion of Islam, right? I mean, it is what it is. And accordingly, all experience hath shewn that mankind are more disposed to suffer when evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. So again, you know, you want to claim and you want to exercise and abolish something, take that from the Declaration of Independence. That's the language of the law, right? And, you know, again, me being me, loss prevention just doesn't do anything small, do I? So What was the object? What was the design? Right? I already know what this sentence basically means, right? It is not just their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future security. This denotes those who have the ability to respond have the responsibility to respond, right? I know this fundamentally and principally. So I don't need some judge to tell me that, you know, looking for shit like this, foreign business models, designing business models. Hell, oh yeah, I know how to do that. If I were to pull some bullshit like this, I already know what would happen here if I were going to try to pull something like this. Hence the reason why I call it shit made up, because that's exactly what it is. So, you know, this is this right here is the claim, Title 4, right? So, you know, knowing and understanding that um one of the fundamental reasons why government has no standing to even lay and collect taxes as long as this garbage exists. Well, it's one thing to say it, it's something else to claim it and exercise it, right? So this is how you claim it and you exercise it. You assert your standing in law, so um it was with a certain sense of pride and satisfaction that I got to see the end of the ongoing emoluments violations of Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, aka the Foreign Emoluments Clause, through the efforts of a job I have dedicated a substantial portion of my life to defending, known as loss prevention. Hello, you want to know who I am and what I do? This is my poetic justice right there, baby. So, I again, if justice comes before liberty, part of justice is kick the shit out of the stuff that doesn't belong. So that's why I'm glad to see. I'm just happy as hell to see him do it,
Right.
because
Well,
I got work to do, ton of work to do.
America's been in bad shape for quite some time,
Since
right?
'96, definitively, from what I could show.
I go clear back to like 1845.
Oh well, shit. I'm talking about within my lifetime. So,
Well, some of this shit made up came before our lifetime, brother.
oh yeah, I know, but still.
Was that Declaration of Independence says the something about the slow encroachment?
Hmm. Yeah, well,
And that's
that's
what it is. It's little tiny chunks at a time over time, and nobody really noticed. Nobody really paid attention. One little right being diminished or subverted or voted on to
hmm.
change to alter uh, our form of government.
So that's why I said take your
That's not
seatbelt law.
Republican in character.
Yeah, so take your seatbelt law and shove it up your ass. Uh, sorry, I can't resist. But exactly what you're talking about is right here. I just read this, that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. Right? How long has that seatbelt click it or ticket shit been going on?
Right.
Um,
The next one there's but when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism,
right?
it is their right, it is their duty. So it's not only a right, but it's our duty. Now, this is the key part, to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future security. Right?
That's right. So again, it was not only am I throwing off the other governor that throw off that bar association, I volunteer to take its place. And I'm going to show you all the shit that they made up, right? That we already know is shit made up. Hence those unconstitutional anal oppressive statutes. So, you know, that's that's why it's interesting to watch this thing write itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it needs a little steering here and there, right? A little bat to the right or a little bat to the left or a little bat back to the right again, you know. But it was uh it was getting the ball rolling, right? Well, now that the ball's rolling again, now you got to steer it, right? You just don't just say, "Okay, it's off and running, bye." No. That's not how this works, right? So, you got
You
to
sure?
manage that sucker. You got to keep it on there and, too far left, stupid. Too far right, stupid. You know.
Taking them training wheels off a little too early?
Where's that hammer? you know, you got to hit your thumb with that hammer to know it's going to hurt. So,
Yep.
but yeah.
Yeah, back to some basic fundamental principles.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no man that has standing in law to claim a right to a cause of action, you're being subjected to a bill of attainder.
And
Plain and simple. Bill
interestingly,
of attainder or bill of pains and penalties. That is fake legislation, pretended acts of legislation. It's not law.
right,
An act of the legislature is not law. Plain and simple.
right,
So, knowing that, right, in order for there for there to be a crime that exists, you
mm-hmm.
have to have the victim, the corpus delicti. They know this.
That's right,
I brought that corpus delicti up one time and quite a few years ago, and he was like, "Oh, well, that means dead body," and I said, "No, that means the body of the crime, the
right.
actual man who has, been injured." He just crooked his head at me like,
Yeah, yeah. They don't like it
because he
when you
knew that
call
I
them out on
knew
their
what I was
shit.
talking about.
Yeah, they don't like it when you call them out on their shit, and we've gotten
Yeah,
really good at that.
correct them when they make false statements.
Right. Yeah.
That's your word salad. You're trying to twist what the true meaning behind corpus delicti, the body of the crime, the actual body,
Right.
not the dead
Mm-hmm.
body.
Mm-hmm. Tompkins.
Corp corpus is the body.
Yeah. Tompkins, Cap Calvin out here on Facebook says Title IV isn't positive law. No, it is not. That is
Oh,
pretended act of legislation.
yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is the real process, right? That was the fictitious shit. Here's the real process of how we go in there and shut it down, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the okay, class, pick up your books, right? And I'm going to order the investigation. And here's what I have found. Whatever you guys find, right? Here's my deposition or witness statement, depending on whatever you want to call it. Okay. My deposition is this. So, you know, when asked about my tax case, they're like, so if you had to classify that, what would it be? And I said, well, and based on what I know, I gave a deposition with supporting documentation. You know what the response was? That's good enough for me. So, you know, I didn't go in there talking all kinds of smack about some jackwagon, dumbass, whatever, right? I said, here's my deposition, my statement in the form of remonstrance, right? That's the process, right? As in a republic. And here's my proof of my claim. It was very simple. And here's the supporting cases that I cited in the beginning. Here's the opinion, right? Because if it had to go to the court of chancery, one of the rules in the court of chancery is they want the entire opinion. Okay, I'll comply with the rule of law. Oh, guess what? Following the law and the rules of the court. That's in my mandate, right? Okay, well, I can do that. Judge gave me an order. I can comply with a lawful order. See how you see, I'm so hard to get along with here, you know. This is just like, hey, wait a minute, he's pretty good at this stuff. So, it's a uh you know, I give them something that they're not accustomed to seeing. I give them something that they get to the end of that document and go, wait a minute, I want more. It's like, sorry, that's all I had to say.
Right.
But it's like, but that's the good news. It's a kind of breathing life back into, you know, to me, as far as I'm concerned, Lady Justice is as, denotation of being, you know, a woman, right? Women are emotional creatures, right? So to move the court speaking in her language, right, as also a creature of habit, right? Women, of course, are inherent emotional creatures, right? You appeal to that sense of justice. I don't know. That's why I said it's complicated. Remember, I'm just a guy here. This is guy logic and guy reason. So you apply that however you think is appropriate. But that's just me thinking, I don't know jack shit about women, but here's what little bit I do know. You tell me. And so, you know, it is what it is. And Bill Sharp, Delaware gun rights. Is there something going on in Delaware there, Bill? Huh. That's interesting. I thought that was in Virginia.
Virginia just had a thing about. I mean, there's
Big rally.
several different states that are starting to go. No,
Yeah.
people are starting to stand up. They're
Yeah.
starting to gather in large groups and say, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. Malika says mansplaining. Yes, I suck at it. Can you tell? So,
Mansplaining,
right. I really suck at this, but
which is why women don't comprehend it, because it doesn't have the emotional side.
yeah, I know. Yeah. But
But I go back to my basic rule of thumb, which basically comes from the Bible, is the fact that the husband and the wife, the wife is supposed to be there for support of the husband, and it's man themselves supposed to seek wise counsel, right?
right.
And we're supposed to bounce things off of our wives,
Hmm.
and in my mind gives that other part to mankind, the emotional side of things
Right.
that us men don't don't really think about, right? We're more logical and well, yeah, that's gonna hurt if I hit my thumb with a hammer. Well, yeah, hey, why? Yeah, how does that make you feel?
Right. Yeah.
Coming from the woman, uh, that gives us that balance.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Hit
But
your thumb with a hammer.
it
I
takes
just get
it takes
pissed.
a good, solid, strong man to
Right.
go. You know what? I want my wife's opinions and
Right.
thoughts on this. And although
Yeah.
the Bible does say that the man has the final say,
Hmm.
that he's the head of the household,
Right.
that doesn't mean he gets to be an asshole.
Right.
Disregard the feelings and the opinions of his significant other, right?
Right.
Because
Well,
it's a union. You become one.
okay.
That's the beauty of at least what I see in marriage and the union that
Comment out on
men
YouTube.
vow.
Comment out on YouTube. And again, this is just me being a guy because I don't understand. Right. So please don't take this the wrong way. She says, appeal to emotion is manipulation. I don't understand how that is.
Well, depends on if now. See, something I've looked in is called mental and emotional manipulation. Well, if you love me, you'll do this. No, that's
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Okay.
That's
All right.
not what the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I'm talking about like,
All right. I
hey,
think I see where you're headed there.
I'd like to go
Okay.
buy this supercharger for the truck and some
Right.
jacked up stuff and jack the
Right.
truck.
Right.
They go, well, honey, we
Yeah.
really need things over here instead, and we'd
Mm-hmm.
be better off if we had spent that money over here. You know,
Right.
uh, yeah, it's a want versus a need sometimes, but the emotional side of like how you would treat someone else because of how they treated you or because of something they did. And, us men don't normally think emotionally or how somebody else feels sometimes. And that's where the wife comes in and goes, well, they may be having
Hmm.
a hard time over there and, you know, going through their own personal stuff. And, oh, yeah, yeah. Aside from basic empathy, but this is
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. See,
There's just
I,
something different about men and women. And I think
and
putting them
again, I get it.
together and working together, because I have had a couple of relationships where was able to sit down and discuss, no
Right.
fighting. It was just a pleasant
Hmm.
conversation,
Right.
even though some things were, hard to discuss.
Right. You know,
Still was like, I look back on those couple different women. It's like, man, how come I can't seem to find those too often? It is,
hmm and see, again, my brain goes to when I'm thinking manipulation. Now, remember, I'm a man, and I'm thinking logically and reasonably here. I'm thinking manipulation. I've got this piece of wood in front of me, and I want to make this thing into something else, right? Oh, I'm going to manipulate it, and I'm going to build a whiteboard. To me, that's manipulation. I'm manipulating the wood into a whiteboard,
right.
right?
I call
Or
that craftsmanship. But
yeah, a craft. Yeah,
a really good example is Spock, right?
right.
Super logical man.
Well,
Sometimes he
hey,
just
once
flat out does not understand the emotional, and he admits it. I just don't get it. But that's the thing is logic. Sometimes can be changed through
mhm,
emotions,
yeah,
and it can be a positive thing, and it can definitely be a negative thing. But
ish.
I try to look at the positive things, knowing that there's always the positive and negative. But
Hmm.
still, in my mind, there's supposed to be that union, and you're supposed to be one,
Right.
and now you got the power of two, right?
Yeah. See,
So
again, and my problem is, and I suffered from through this the whole time I was married, and you know, I'd have made a good computer or a good Spock, I guess, whatever way you want to put it.
right, right, right,
It's I'm because I work with machines all day long. Machines thrive on logic and reason. If if it's not logical and it's not reasonable, the machine, whatever the machine is, isn't going to work.
and,
Right.
and the neat thing about a machine is it works the same every time until it doesn't,
That's
and then
right.
it's diagnostics. What the
Right.
hell's wrong? What's going on here?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I got one of
Now,
them
women,
diagnostic tools around here somewhere.
women, man, you turn them on, and sometimes they act one way, and next time they'll act a different way.
Yep. There ain't no meter for that. There ain't no meter or way to measure that shit,
Oh,
so
that's the bullshit meter.
right. So, you know, I like the science. I can hook a meter up to it and go, okay, I see the numbers on that. All right, I get it. I understand. You know, that whole variable thing, oh shit, I better get out the calculus. Hang on.
Right.
So, you know, that to me, you get into emotions. That's like fractal calculus. Judicial estoppel is my favorite example of that. But
No, 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 Jessica. What I didn't say. So women don't think logically nor reasonably.
no, 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 no,
I
not
said
not at all.
men don't think emotionally, and
No,
the
some
women
do,
provide the
right?
balance.
Right. And
That's what
again,
I'm talking about.
right. Well, again, that's why knowing that I suck at this, you know, I was, this
Right,
is me attempting to be, apply, mix in a little emotional, come on, dude, with
right,
pure logic and pure reason. You know, flip the coin. You know, you know, you guys grade the work. You tell me as it's published out there for you guys to read. But the I know it and I understand inherently what my flaws are. I don't need anybody to take me on a tour to that shit. But the um my lack of emotional outburst, I don't know, whatever you want to call that, it's not because I don't care. It's just my thought process is just fundamentally different. Does that make sense? It does to me. I don't know if it makes
Right.
sense to you guys, but it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but yeah, I just
Here's my thing, though. God created women with a warning label. Whoa, man. I'll just
yeah.
leave it at
Cheers.
some say can't live with them. Some say you can't live without them.
Hey, I just I'm interestingly enough, yeah, you're right, Candy Gearheads. You got that right.
Right.
It's just I got speaking of that, I just got the new Dorman catalog. Ironically enough, been around
Right.
since 1918. Uh actually had to order some copies of the Dorman, or print a couple copies of the Dorman catalog because of the my regular work that I do. And I was looking for some. Yeah, it wasn't that. Well, anyway, I won't go through it. Bore you guys to tears. But there's some stuff on four-wheel drive, all-wheel drives that Dorman has that you can't get
Right.
um, from manufacturers anymore because the manufacturer isn't making that stuff. It's been discontinued, but you can still get it aftermarket. So yeah, it's just the nature of the job. But uh, if I knew half as much about the shit that goes on at home as I do about the shit that goes on at work, I'd have no problem. It's just
Right.
I spend too much time at work. It's my problem. uh
Oh, yeah.
yeah, JC Whitney, Summit catalog. Oh, I could get lost in the Summit catalog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh
I remember those days.
yeah.
I do Rock Auto now.
Oh God. That's the Amazon of part stores. That's what I
Oh, I
call it.
know.
So uh
Their prices are uh, by far cheaper than getting them in a local store, and shipping is relatively quick.
right.
4 days, excluding weekends.
Right. Matter of fact, to answer that one question I saw earlier.
Yep,
Um,
exactly, Candy. It's called balance.
right.
That's what I refer to the husband and wife or man and woman thing is.
hmm
We men will get the balance, so will women, right?
Right. Speaking of we talk about this, the right to assemble. I know we kind of got off topic there, but to get it back into the right of assembly, okay, you know, again, it's been bastardized to, you know, picketing, right?
Mm,
Yes, you have a right to picket, you have a right to assemble to picket, but that is not stating your grievance, right, on paper. So, um, if you want to call them into assembly, right now, does this always mean that they're going to come from wherever they're, you know, residing at that moment to come and sit in the emoluments of Congress? Um, Not for just one session, right? This would be to, oh, next time you guys are there, right? Unless, of course, it's an emergency, right? State of emergency, hence the
right.
coronavirus. And I take my
I was going
corona
to
with
use that as an example.
right.
Yep,
I take
perfect
my
example.
corona with lime, just so everybody
State
knows.
of an emergency.
Right.
The
Yeah.
governor calls them in for a special session to make some sort of resolution.
Right. So
Here's the problem being presented. How do we resolve this issue?
that's right.
How do we
So
deal with this?
that's right. So again, You're going to call them into assembly. This is the mechanism that does that, right? What are you calling them in assembly to do? Well, let's go into that. And we've you've heard us back and forth over the um, how we feel about committees and various other things. Okay, well, if we need to do an investigation and an assessment on some specific shit made up or other nonsense or whatever you want to call it, right? Well, if there is an enactment, Title 4, aka, do we not have a specific committee that oversees that? Because if we don't, we need one of those. Somebody built it somewhere,
Yeah, it's
and we
called the
don't.
legislature, the whole
Yeah.
entire thing.
Well, and again, if somebody built it somewhere and we don't have a method of oversight here in our state, don't you think we should do that? Guess what happens? They get enough of those. Guess what happens to the thing that was created?
Right.
Bye bye. Right. So, and what you've actually accomplished two things. You've accomplished the abolition, right? Because they've gotten multitudes of requests to commence a committee to oversee something somebody else did that's causing a grievance. Oh, we better where's my eraser, right? Get rid of that shit. So, but you've also, the second half of that is you've claimed your right to a cause of action, hence your standing in law. So, to hear Ruth Bader Ginsburg talking about in the litigation that's going on right now, like I said, who are these actors that are standing here litigating and arguing, right? The one withstanding is the one who would be the quote unquote victim here, right? So, why are you here acting on behalf of somebody? You're not the one withstanding, right? Because before it was challenging jurisdiction, it's like, okay, well, you're right. There's no jurisdiction for that. Statutes don't establish jurisdiction. We've covered that. So, what are you doing, Mr. Bar Member, standing here, right? Hauling somebody's ass into court? Do you even have the standing to do that? Do you have the standing to act on behalf of somebody to do that?
Well,
Right?
again, this is
Where's
where I
the
go back to that at law. You say in law, at law.
mm-hmm,
What law? At what law? Because in our Constitution, and the judicial branch has already said, which is true, is the
right,
fact that anytime it says at law, it means at the common law.
right.
But they don't want to put that word in there.
No,
And this is you have to have a license to practice at law
wrong.
because it's foreign to our form of government and repugnant to our law. It's foreign law.
Right.
And that's why you have to be a member bound to that society,
Secret
the
society.
bar.
Right.
And see,
So,
they don't want to come out with the truth and say at law means at the common law. And in America, that would be the American common law.
yeah. So, again, that's why I said you want to play Monopoly Corporation. Well, what is your intended purpose? Because according to your bylaws, you're a nonprofit corporation.
Yeah,
Explain if you're a nonprofit, explain these rivers of money running through here. Class, anyone? Anyone?
right.
Um, at least a for-profit corporation, I make no bones about it. I'm in business to make money when I'm on the clock, right? Hence
Should,
the reason I got a Dorman catalog. You know, duh.
right.
So I mean, it is what it is. I know the difference between at law to do business and commerce and make money, which is what that is, versus what you guys are doing and what you're portraying yourselves as. Who's the sham? Who's the faker here? Right. So I said, I'll show you mine. Show me yours. And all they do is get this look down at the floor and looking at their watch and, you know, it's sovereign citizen. Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Right.
So, because this is where we're talking. That's why when you came out with it, the bar member files their notice of appearance and then takes leave, right, where they admit the jurisdiction and then take leave. So what did they just
Mm-hmm.
do? They just dropped your happy ass into the lion's den and said, swim, bitch. Where's my gun? Oh, no,
Mm.
you're not. So, that's why it was like, oh, this is what you're doing? Yeah. No, you're not. No, you're not. Take that loyalist mentality, that monarchy mentality. See ya.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why if you look at the document, the tax case and the due process pursuant to the Sixth Amendment, civil due process, you notice the fundamental similarities and not so subtle differences between the two, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the republic, doing business in a republic, is so much different than the monopoly, the monarchy. They don't look anything alike. They really
Yeah, I was
don't.
gonna say that's because the bar is part of the government
Right,
in a monarchy. It's
right,
the fourth pillar. It's the so even today here in America we call it the bar.
right.
It's
So,
a bar complaint or you know
right,
crossover step up to the bar, right?
right. And again, note, noting the origins of the bar, right? When you're talking about the king's court, the
Yes.
monarchy,
The
right?
king's bench.
Right. Who was the head of the bar in that time frame during that? And the answer is the cardinal, right?
Roman Catholic Church, the
The
Crown
cardinal,
Temple Bar
right?
under
And
ecclesiastical law.
so the denotation there was the virtuous arguments of the cardinal dispensing God's justice before the king, right? That's how a monarchy works. And that's again, talk about archaic. That is, oh my, yeah, that's when they bloodletting and you know put people on a break. Literally break every bone in your body. Was just a big wheel. And oh yeah, guillotines and all. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, fun stuff before you go to bed on Friday night fun night. So, but anyway, this is why we say, when I oh, a matter of fact, I can pull that right back up again. It is. I think I have it right about. Where are you, little bastard? Little bastard. Yeah, here it is. So when we look at this, is the Merriam-Webster's collegiate dictionary, right? Common observance, right? You could walk into any house and pull a Merriam-Webster's off the shelf, probably, right? So you're talking about common observance of the word emolument. Looking at definition number 2, the all caps advantage is listed as archaic, right?
Right.
Right. So again, the common observance, the common man knows this, right? So hence the emolumentum, right? Not being put forth as a benefit, it's being put forth under common observance as the advantage, right? So you see what I'm saying?
Mm.
To claim if all men are created equal, how the hell are you claiming an advantage over another person? Can you explain that? And the answer is there's no standing for that. So not in a republic anyway. So when it comes down to knowing and understanding that the emolument of any office, lawfully created office, means there's a task to do. Okay. The only advantage you have is limited to the scope of the emoluments of that office. So again, if we're going to talk about oaths of office, my job under that emolument is to administer an oath. I better know everything about an oath, shouldn't I? Right? I mean, there's plenty of law, there's plenty of treatise on it. You know, the job description is about that thick, about an inch and a half thick. So if you want to read the whole thing, which of course I do. So, I mean, because reading means reading. Imagine that. Um, so it was okay, well, if I'm on the clock, that means I am in my official capacity. I'm technically an officer of the court. I already know I can't lie and present false evidence in court. Duh. I'm the guy administering the oath, you dumbass. So, oh my God.
Right.
uh, yeah, it's absolutely bizarre. How this turn of events has happened, right? So,
Right. Yeah.
uh,
Oh. We having fun yet?
oh, I'm telling you, I'm
How
getting
about how
there.
about y'all out there? You having fun yet?
Yeah, I'm getting there. So, um, I know I have was it in here? I thought I put it in here. Apparently I didn't. This is what I get for thinking. I need to quit doing that. I suck at it. So, there is the, again, this is something we haven't shown in a while. What are those affirmative defenses? Right? Well, somebody took an action against you that they didn't have standing in law to take. Let's call this what it is, right? Shit made up, whatever you want to call it. So, what's your defense against that? Well, because you're going to have to start somewhere, right? So, starting with a defense, hey, can't go wrong starting there. What one does in his defense is considered legal. Remember,
Where's the
that's on the short list,
where's the
right?
insufficiency of service, insufficiency of process?
That could be, yeah, you might be able to include that in failure of consideration, illegality, um, statute of frauds, statute of limitations. Hell, there's one, injury by fellow servant. If you're on the clock, right, they're not performing the duties under their emolument, whether it's fictitious shit made up or not, right? If they're in that courtroom, that means they got a job to do. So if you're not doing your job there, buddy, you're not doing it the right way, that's potentially an injury by fellow servant, is it not? So, um, let's see, fraud or bad faith, right? Didn't perform the duties under your emolument. That's fraud, bad faith, or some combination of the two. Still cause for judicial estoppel or equitable estoppel or estoppel by misrepresentation, or the list goes on and on and on. Hence my joke of fractal calculus. So, but it's amazing what you can learn. And I just have to pull it back up again. Crap. Would be, nope, not in there.
Yeah.
Here it is. So, what can we learn from a word? Okay. Well, Here's what you can learn from studying one word. So, if emoluments are government, right? To know a thing and to be bound to know it are regarded in law as equivalent. And in order to rightly comprehend a thing, you have to inquire into the name, for the right knowledge of thing depends on their names. So the best way to inquire into the name is to look at the etymology of the name. There's the entire etymology of the word. So any government throughout history boils down to one word. So these actors, they're not just smart. They're so smart. They could construct multiple versions of governments, right? Give it, calling it, their under their various emoluments, privileges, and immunities, right? And then selectively exclude that word from justice. That's some skill right there, baby. You know, I I have seen some scammers and some shit made up in my day. Oh God. you know, hey, I I I'm good when it comes to sales. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm one of the best. But this is next level shit, baby. That is some next level shit to pull that off. So, you know, to those who've pulled this off until we started figuring this out, there's my slow clap, right? Congratulations. You're busted. So, but, it's that's why I said that's a crafty bastard there. So if you're going to deny justice, right, and, deny government intrusion, you exclude the word from justice. So I would emolument the shit out of every document that I write. Matter of fact, that's why you saw it. The emoluments violations in this case, U.S. versus Throckmorton in a personal capacity, and Hale versus Hinkle in my official capacity. You pick it.
So
Am I on or off the clock?
out on Facebook, they're asking if we would a list of emoluments of each office would be a good memo to send those in office, and they're asking for a list of it. Well, the thing is the Constitution creates those emoluments. The governor, and what is the scope and authority of the governor? The Constitution lays out those emoluments, folks.
That's right. So
What
again,
duties are they to perform are in the Constitution.
that's right.
That's why we are a constitutional republic,
That's right.
because the Constitution dictates those powers delegated,
Mm-hmm.
those emoluments. We will pay you
Right.
to sit in that emolument, to sit in that seat in government, whether elected or appointed by an elected official. And you're supposed to be bound by the Constitution. That's the
Right.
contract, the quid pro quo.
Mm-hmm.
What for what? Well, if you're going to be the governor, here's your duties, and the what for what you're going to
Right.
get paid to do this.
Right.
Don't you dare step outside of your delegated authority, your power that was delegated to you, because that would be an usurpation of power. Oh, would also be an emoluments violation for you to use your position as governor or whatever office elected official that you are to step outside of that scope and authority that we, the people, laid down, ordained, or established, right? Because we ordain and establish government, we institute government. And the Constitution gets ordained or established, unless it's the Constitution of the United States of America, it's ordained and established.
Right.
So, that's what we need to start reading, right? Reading actually means reading. So you want a list of the emoluments, read your Constitution. I mean, that's it right there.
Mm-hmm. Right. So
because the
again,
Constitution dictates what
mhm,
that position that emolument has, what
right.
power they have, and then also the limitations. But they don't want us they don't want us reading that stuff,
Yeah. Oh God, no. That's sovereign citizen shit.
right?
Huh?
What? Yeah. Well, the state is a state of being, such as, I don't know, the law of the nation as a Christian nation,
Mm-hmm.
having those morals and principles of
Mm-hmm.
Christianity. That's our state of being. I'm reading off of out here on YouTube.
Right.
And I pulled this up. You go pull it up on etymology, okay? The word state, and you dig into it, you find it. Bring into being, or a state of being, the body politic, government.
Right.
What is our state of being? Well, our state of being is that we're supposed to have Christian forbearance, love, and charity towards our fellow man and without the use of force and violence. That's our state of being. And the other part of our state of being is that the people are sovereign and the citizens are those that are bound by the Constitution. So you can't be sovereign and a citizen at the same time. Because when you take that citizenship and you take that oath, you give up some of your sovereignty, your rights, the law, for privileges.
Yeah.
Those are privileges. It's a privilege to serve
Well, and again,
the people. And the other part of
Darlene.
our state of being is all political power is inherent in the people.
Right.
Another uh, part of our state of being is that we go by the rule of law, not the rule of man. Our rights are, in fact, the law. There's there. I challenge anyone to debate me on that, and I'll show the evidence that it says rights are the law. And again, back to American jurisprudence, Volume 16, Constitutional Law, Section 100, Bills of Rights and those merely declaratory of the common law.
Couldn't
That's
resist, bro.
the law that
I couldn't
was
resist.
right. The thing is right. Governments are instituted among men receiving their just powers under the consent of the governed.
Mm-hmm.
We never gave consent over our natural rights, God given rights. Natural rights and civil rights have nothing to do with the establishment, support, or management of government. That's not what we instituted government for. In fact, it says that we instituted government to secure those blessings of liberty from Almighty God. And that's why the Declaration of Independence is supposed to be self-evident. And among these unalienable or unalienable rights, among those is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's just among those unalienable rights. Okay, so again, God-given rights are natural rights. Naturally, fundamentally, principally, they have nothing to do with government. We're in the private. We stay in the private. We're not in the public. But see, that's that word salad. They've twisted the word public to mean, well, when you go out on the street here. No. If we're going to talk public in the public like that, that's called the in the general public, right? But when we're saying public with a P, capital P, that's a citizen that's bound by the Constitution, or a corporation, right? The CEO and everyone under the CEO, you're bound by the Constitution,
We even went through those. I
right?
even went through
While
those
at work,
principles and
right?
practices, right?
As your business and operating your business, you
Mhm.
cannot operate your business. None of your business practices can be contrary to the law. That's how that works. That's the way our founders set this up. If you want
Mhm.
to do business with the people of the territory, people of the state, right? Of the people, by the people, and for the people, then you have to be bound by the Constitution to make sure the safety and security of the people.
Mhm. Then there's a few checks and balances, right? Speaking of corporate officers, go back to this PowerPoint, right? Want to talk about what a license is? There's a license to do business. There's an example, right? That one's got my name on it. So, um, because this is licensed in commerce, notice that it comes from the governor, the executive branch, right? And it's in that diploma font, right? So, going down through here, we already know what is a fiduciary and what is the fiduciary duty. We've been through this, right? I did this is the PowerPoint where I went through all of this. So I know what my job is fundamentally and principally, right? I know what um, practice is. That's what I said. I want somebody who does this shit on purpose, on principle, right? What is a
Right.
practitioner, right?
So when they go to baseball practice or basketball practice or football practice, do you have to have a license for that?
Right? Just saying.
So
Well,
if you
again,
got to have a license to practice law, what the hell are they doing in court?
well,
Because,
they don't
uh,
have that, right? Because that emolument, that private club is a fiction.
right, right, right.
Can you go to the
But
Secretary of State in any state and look up a bar card?
nope,
No,
no,
you
you most certainly
cannot.
cannot. It's not a
So
matter of public record, is it?
that's right. So the problem with it is fundamentally and principally, they have no standing in
In
law.
law.
Technically, they
Yes,
have no standing at law either, technically
right.
speaking.
Well,
That's why I
yeah,
said,
because
I'll show you
they're
mine, you
they're
son of a bitch.
foreign
Show me
agents,
yours.
and I've showed this in Article 3. Those foreign agents would only be authorized by law to represent foreign dignitaries, ambassadors, I should say. No, not a T. But read it again real close there, Article 3. You know, that's the geese they're coming in under, right? Well, we might have some foreigners here we might have to represent, or I don't know. Actually, what it is flat out just tyranny. And they didn't like the fact that we were kicking them out of our country, that our founders figured out who that pernicious project was. They talk about in 1775 in the
There's one of
Declaration
our
of
favorite.
Arms,
There's one of our favorite guys.
right? Right?
Yes, it's Friday night fun night. Leave me alone.
Right?
So,
That's what we're here for. We're here to have a little. We got to have a little bit of fun with this,
oh my
right?
God. I mean, come on.
But
They've
we,
been having so much fun at our expense for so long. My turn.
well,
Yeah.
you and I discussed this before here and in private, is the fact that this law, doing law stuff, reading law and studying the law and trying to figure this stuff out, it's super dry, right? We get it. A lot of people don't want to take the time to learn this stuff because it's so dry and boring.
Anyone? Anyone?
Yeah.
Anyone? Yeah.
So we try to liven it up a little bit, at least once a week. Usually Monday Night Law, we're pretty serious about education on the law, and
Right.
we show it, the letter of the law.
Right.
Wednesdays we ease up a little bit, and then Friday we just
Mm-hmm.
try to have
Well,
try to have as much fun as we can here.
yeah. So the difference between an actual oath of office, right, and a bar card. The bar card does not contain this word.
Does it even say therefore in accordance with the law?
No, does not.
Say that either.
Doesn't say that either. So, because they have no lawful emolument, what the hell are they even doing in the room? They have no standing. Period. That's why I said, you want to play Monopoly Corporation with me? Bring your oath, you son of a bitch. I'll show you mine. Show me yours. And the answer is theirs is fiction. They're the fakers, the snake oil salesmen, the confidence men, right? That's what it is. They do not possess lawful emoluments. Don't have that. And that's why it's problematic, right? This is why we're going down these same roads in history in 2020 than we went down in what, the 1700s. So yes, hence the foreign emoluments clause, right? That's a foreign emolument. These bar cards violate the foreign emoluments clause. Get them the hell out of here, right? So, you know, you want to do business, but you're going to do business within the letter of the law. And no, I don't mean statutory word salad bullshit. Nice try. So, you know, that didn't work with the president. It sure as hell isn't going to work with loss prevention. I can tell you that right now. I know the difference between a Ford and a Chevy and an
You do?
emolument and a hammer. Just saying. So,
It's in the difference.
right. So to answer Darlene's question, that is the answer to the question. That emolument, that bar card, that position, that standing in the fourth pillar does not exist in our republic. It's foreign to our form of government and unacknowledged by our constitution as dictated in the declaration. So, and of course, yes, they get pissed off when I call them out as being frauds and shit made up. And I don't care. So I said, you think you're so damn smart? You're gonna pull one over on me? You don't get up that early. Trust me. Actually, I would have to sleep in order for them to get up earlier than me, but that's beside the point. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah. Hey, Top Cat, I've met some pretty good bartenders myself.
Mm-hmm.
I even bounced at a bar for about 6 months, a little over 6 months.
Bounced right out the door.
Did that one time.
Right?
Yep.
But I'm gonna try to yeah. Yeah, I try to get exactly, you know, what the difference is. You know, I mean, think about this. Logic, apply just a little logic and a little reason, right?
Uh-oh, here we
You're
go.
traveling down, doing whatever it is you're doing, and you get
Choo choo.
served. Yeah.
Oh
Well,
no.
you get this service, right? From the offices of the law offices of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. Who the hell is the law offices of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe? Hello, Secretary of State. Who the hell are the law offices of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe? I don't have any law offices of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. Then that's some shit made up. Who the hell is Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe? Right? So, again, this is, you know, knowing what I know about law and history and fundamental due process now, as it turns out. It's like, oh, well, we've seen this before. Not my first rodeo. So, it's the because we know statutes do not establish jurisdiction. We showed that in the what was that civil due process PowerPoint. Um, that's actually I think it was that one. But, you know, so they're going to say, oh, yes, this conduct under the statute. Whoa, time out. Hold on there, buddy. Statutes don't apply to me when I'm out in my personal capacity.
Now this is why Trump did what he did under that reorganization of the executive branch.
Mm-hmm.
Why they have to publish their rules, their regulations, because if you're not bound by those specific ones, and like Trump said, they don't apply. They don't apply. Plain and simple. Because they were not publishing this stuff the way that it's supposed to be done, right?
Right.
But given today's day and age, we're the information highway here, the internet,
Right.
which is for entertainment purposes only, by the way.
Right.
I mean, I could show you where I just paid my internet bill and it says entertainment.
Right.
But anywho, the fact is all of this stuff has to be published now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not bound contract, right, then you're not bound by those statutes, which is made off of public law.
Mm-hmm.
They're just supposedly reiterating what's done in public law, which the legislature does have the power to make public law. Public, those in the public, like this right here. Okay. Chris has a couple different capacities that he's showing right here that have bound to different parts of the public law. One under real estate. So all of the public law regarding to real estate agents
and transactions,
except for those that are trying to subvert the law,
mm-hmm.
right? But still, so Chris would be with that contract right there is bound by those specific statutes, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And
which
then
I said, okay, fine.
The notary public,
mm-hmm.
Whole different set of public law.
That's right.
But see,
there's a whole treatise on that.
It comes from the common law.
Right.
So if the legislature makes something that's contrary to the common law, it's void ab initio.
Right. So again, because of the nature of what actually goes on, okay, with officers of the court, right? And we've said, okay, well, we already know that these emoluments of the bar are fictitious and they're shit made up. We get it. We understand it, right? What do you need from me? And the answer was clarification, the same shit you want. Oh, sweet. All you had to do was ask. So, it becomes, let me run in here and just pull this up real fast because these are, I think, yep, right here. We just got these things effective January of this year. Okay. Right. Again, this goes back to we just showed this on the last show because remember that project you're working on, Kirk. Right. So when we submit these complaints from you guys, from these bad actors who are just talking shit, doxing people, making shit up and whatever they're doing, right? It has to, those documents that are going to be submitted, right? Here's the criteria, right? This is a lawful presentment. So if I'm going to certify something, okay, I have to vet it according to these criteria, which I don't mind doing, right? So I can certainly do that, as far as what this, now this says optional, but I'll be filling every bit of this out, top to bottom, left to right. So, yeah,
this is how you certify videos, or like you have a recording on your phone, both audio or video, or audio and video.
Mm-hmm.
You have the right to self-certify that when you send a copy of that you're certifying that this is a true, correct, accurate copy of the foregoing recording, video, whatever it is, right? This is how
Right.
you do that.
Yeah, that's right. So, again, this is what I said, will I take your depositions and submit them to the legislature for you? You bet your ass I will, right? Because I have mandatory oversight authority, right? So, I mean, it is what it is. That's what that mandate states. Follow the law and the rules of the court. Dude, on it. Yeah, all you had to do was give me a lane, bro. I'm gone. I'm on it. Watch my smoke.
Right?
Want to see it again? So, it's like, oh, holy shit, these guys are pretty good at this. Yeah, been around a while. So, by the time it does get to a court, if it's going to be brought forth through a prosecutor, right? Um, or would it be brought through by my office, by me? Will I be making a presentation based on, you know, I would be offering witness testimony, right? Present in a presentment, right? I don't know if that would be through the witness stand or whether that would be just through, you know, delivering remarks to open court. I don't know. Never done it. We've never done it that way before. It'd be interesting to be just giving remarks in open court the same way I do it in every other board meeting. So that's why I said I don't object to a judge being there. Yeah, I
So,
want the judge there because if somebody's going to pull some shenanigans, I want the judge to see it, right? So, you know, I'm
yeah.
I'm I'm kind of a stickler for that full disclosure stuff.
So
So,
I have a question for you. Does your Mr. Good bar melt in your car?
huh?
Does does your Mr. Good bar melt in your car? Candy bar?
Melt in my car?
Yeah, with the heat in
Everything
Florida.
melts in Florida. It's freaking hot down here, you dumbass. What are you asking me that for?
I think it was facetious,
Oh,
sarcasm.
okay. Right, right.
So I went ahead and pulled that executive order up that I was talking about. There's actually two of them, but I'll pull the second one up here in a second. Get this crap out of the way.
See it.
Everybody stand back now. How big this thing's going to get.
Right.
All right. This is from October 9th, 2019, Executive Order 13891. Promoting the rule of law through improved agency guidance documents by the authority vested in the President of constitutional laws of the United States of America in order to ensure the Americans are subject to only those binding rules imposed through duly enacted statutes or through regulations lawfully promulgated under them, and that Americans have what? Fair notice of their obligations is hereby ordered as follows. What does the first word here say? Policy. Departments and why did he write it twice? In the executive branch, adopt regulations that impose legally binding requirements on the public, even though in our constitutional democracy, only Congress is vested with the legislative power. That's right. Congress is the only one. The Administrative Procedures Act generally requires agencies in exercising that solemn responsibility to engage in notice and comment rulemaking to provide public notice to proposed regulations under Section 553 of Title 5, United States Code, allow interested parties an opportunity to comment, consider, and respond to significant comments and publish final regulations in the Federal Register. Agencies may clarify existing obligations through non-binding guidance documents, which the APA exempts from notice and commitment requirements. Yet agencies have sometimes used this authority inappropriately in attempts to regulate the public without following the rule-making procedures of the APA. Even when accompanied by a disclaimer that it is non-binding, a guidance document issued by an agency may carry the implicit threat of enforcement action if the regulated public does not comply. Imagine that. Moreover, the public frequently has insufficient notice of guidance documents, which are not always published in the Federal Register or distributed to all regulated parties. What? Americans deserve an open and fair regulatory process that imposes new obligations on the public only when consistent with applicable law and after agency follows appropriate procedures. Therefore, it is the policy of the executive branch, to the extent consistent with applicable law, to require that agencies treat guidance documents as non-binding, both in law and in practice, except as incorporated into a contract. Take public input into account when appropriate in formulating guidance documents, and make guidance documents readily available to the public. Agencies may impose legally binding requirements on the public only through regulations and on parties on case-by-case basis through adjudications, and only after appropriate process, except as authorized by law or as incorporated into a contract. Where's the contract? You ain't got one. You ain't got no standing in law. But problem with this is it's right here. Allowed, where is it? This right here. Even though in our constitutional democracy, we don't have a constitutional democracy, only Congress is vested with the legislative power. So that's a statement of fact right there. Congress is the only one vested with legislative power. No power may be delegated that properly belongs. That's even in the Mason's Manual. Cannot delegate a power to someone else. If it's a power properly belonging to the legislative branch, you have to exercise that power. Nobody else can. You can't delegate that power to anyone else due to what? Separations of powers doctrine. So right here, it's openly admitting that that Congress is the one vested with legislative power. The Administrative Procedure Act generally requires agencies in exercising that solemn responsibility. No, agencies are not part of government. They're not supposed to be, because that would be erecting a multitude of offices, sending hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out our substance. No, that's not Republican in character. That would be a democracy in character.
Well, and again, that's why I said, explain the subsidies. And Bill Barr said, oh, yeah, emoluments, those are a stipend. Oh.
Right. But in essence, this section 1, the first paragraph, basically just abolishes the Administrative Procedures Act, because there's no such thing as administrative procedure from the Constitution. We have due process of law and rules of the common law. That's it. You cannot subvert the law. That's exactly what's happening right here with the Administrative Procedure Act. But the nice thing is, and I think it may eventually go away, given what he's saying right here. I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to get it reorganized, and he's putting it out that, look, this shit made up doesn't even apply to the people because it's policy, and it only applies to those that are bound by a contract.
That's right. So if you don't have an oath of office, an emolument of any kind, not bound to you. You're not bound to it, period.
Right.
So, and the only ones who are bound to it are the ones who are acting in their official capacity, basically on the clock, period. So,
promoting, this is the other one. This is the 892. Wait, this was 891. Yeah, this one's 891, and this one's 892. Same day. Promoting the rule of law through transparency and fairness in what? Civil administrative enforcement and adjudication? Okay. policy. The rule of law requires transparency. Regulated parties must know in advance the rules by which the federal government will judge their actions. The Administrative Procedures Act was enacted to provide that administrative policies affecting individual rights and obligations be promulgated pursuant to certain stated procedures so as to avoid the inherently arbitrary nature of unpublished ad hoc determinations. Freedom of Information Act, America's landmark transparency law, amended the APA to further advance this goal. The Freedom of Information Act, as amended, now generally requires that agencies publish in the Federal Register their substantive rules of general applicability, statements of general policy, and interpretations of law that are generally applicable and both formulated and adopted by the agency. It's like, oh my gosh, this hurts my frickin' brain. Freedom of Information Act also generally prohibits an agency from adversely affecting a person with a rule or policy that is not so published, except to the extent that the person has actual and timely notice of terms of the rule or policy. Unfortunately, departments and agencies in the executive branch have not always complied with these requirements. In addition, some agency practices with respect to enforcement actions and adjudications undermine the APA's goals of promoting accountability and ensuring fairness. So again, this would actually, all of this stuff would be internal regulation, right? So agencies shall act transparently and fairly with respect to all affected parties and outlined in this order when engaged in civil, administrative, enforcement, or adjudication. No persons to be subjected to a civil, administrative, enforcement action or adjudication absent prior public notice of both the enforcing agency's jurisdiction, which you ain't got none. Agency ain't got jurisdiction over particular conduct and the legal standards applicable to that conduct. Moreover, now, unless you're going to, again, we're going to put this back on them. Everything that you're talking about here would be like under a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request. Okay, this particular stuff, this rule, administrative procedure, would apply to them. Cannot have the force and effect of law on the people because this is not Republican in character. But that's what's been going on for a long time. Moreover, the federal government should, where feasible, foster greater private sector cooperation enforcement, promote information sharing with the private sector, and establish predictable outcomes for private conduct. Agencies should afford regulated parties the safeguards described in this order above and beyond those that the courts have interpreted the Due Process Clause of the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution to impose. So, again, in my mind, this is an attempt to subvert the Fifth Amendment. But there it is. You know, it is what it is. But the fact is this all has to be, you have to be bound by this stuff, right? So if we're going to say this falls under a certain department head, and they try to enforce this on you outside of a contract with that particular department, no license, no business license that would bind you to that, then it's void for any effect.
Reading comments.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and read some here, see if there was any questions on that.
Yeah, we were talking about on YouTube a little bit about the stipends being their paychecks and company cars and various other benefits, call it whatever you want. And looks like, what the heck is going on here? Facebook is just all messed up. At least mine is.
Oddly enough, this is actually working good here. The new setup for Facebook for doing the
Uh-huh.
live stuff. And
Cool.
I don't know about all y'all out there on Facebook. Give me a little bit of feedback. How
Mm.
is the feed tonight? The video feed. Any real issues, buffering, kicking you guys out, or anything like that?
Yeah,
It's it's working really nice over here. I'm back to using the second computer to broadcast on video, and so far so good. It's going flawless, and seems good to me. I'm not having any weird. I'm not having any weird issues. It's a little different, but
right.
they moved the comments over here on the left instead of on the right, and what I actually look at here is a little bit different page.
Right. Trying to looks like
Good. So no buffering, no kicking you guys out.
now Facebook has done that to me. That's it.
Right.
It's not, but I think it's more on my end than yours. YouTube is, I've seen no issues on YouTube. I watch the same YouTube stream all the way through, which is, you know, my issue with the whole Facebook live streaming. So,
Yep.
but, well, anyway, I think we've hit our little
Yep.
over our 2 hour mark and get
Yep. Two
ready
hours,
to,
17 minutes.
yep.
Seconds.
So I hope that kind of brought some of this, clarification and for you guys on, for example, why bar members' emoluments violations are under more applicable under a case precedent. Excuse me, because that's their shit made up, right? So when I said when we did uh the assessment of the Twin Peaks trial, right, and the defense counsel was sitting there saying, well, you know, prosecutor was hiding evidence, called it a Brady violation, right? Now, because she didn't know that all she had to say was that's an emoluments violation under Brady, right? She didn't get her dismissal. That's a training issue, right? You think for 1 minute that as somebody who's spent a lot of money to go to law school, when she catches wind that she wasn't taught properly, knowing how much money she paid for her degree, she's not going to be a little bit more than slightly miffed. I know if I were her, I would be, right? So whether her emolument is lawful or not at this point, the fact of the matter was she accepted the job, right? And she wasn't given all the right tools to do the job. You know, trying to use a screwdriver as a hammer ain't gonna fly. You know, it's just not
In a
gonna
pinch.
work. You know, yes, it still hurts when you hit your thumb with it, but it doesn't hurt as bad as it does with a hammer. That I will tell you. But
Yep.
the but that's just an example, right? So to say that that was an emoluments violation under Brady or some fraud, again, in a personal capacity, is an emoluments violation under Throckmorton. You know, somebody in a corporation doing business like myself in my business capacity, that's an emoluments violations potentially under Hale v. Hinkle, right? And so on and so on and so on. So, I mean, there's multiple ways to explain it. And I make the arguments not with not with just the case precedents, the established ones. I also use those maxims of law, those fundamental principles, right? That establish the logic and reason behind the argument, right?
Yep.
The motivation for making the argument. So, I hope that helps clarify that, because I saw a lot of questions on that tonight. So, um, again, I want to put in let's see here. Oh, I know what it was. Copy. And I'm going to paste maybe, possibly could be. There it is. And pin the link to the Mason's Manual. So there, that link is pinned on the Facebook feed. I wonder if it'll work on the YouTube feed or if it's got too many characters. Let's find out, just for the
Right.
sport of it. Oh, no, it took it. So it's out on YouTube now, too. Sweet. Put that in my comments and just copy and paste that right out of the YouTube chat. And that takes you right to get a copy of a free PDF copy of this one here book as soon as I pull that bad rascal back up again. Around here somewhere. Here it is. So that link is a way to get a free PDF version of this one. This is the current one.
Right.
And granted, we know it's going to change sometime in November, potentially, from the way I understand it. I don't
That
know
link
if
didn't show up out there on YouTube.
say that again.
That link didn't show up on YouTube, by the way.
It's in my comment.
Yeah, it's not there.
Oh, well, it shows on mine. You don't have, I'm using on YouTube, I'm using just my personal account that I
Yeah, I don't see a
chat
link
with.
to anything.
It won't show up as a link. It shows up as just words. For some reason, YouTube comments won't associate the link, but I don't know. Anyway,
Okay.
that's why I said you have to copy and paste it from my comment. Maybe it'll do that. It'll switch it after we stop broadcasting. I don't know.
You didn't put it in the live feed, you put it in the comments.
Yeah, I put it in the comments there. I'll put it in there again. There we
Well,
go.
no. I'm just making the clear distinction between the live feed chat versus the comments on the
Oh
YouTube
yeah, the live
itself.
feed chat. Yeah, I don't know. Can I?
It may not go in the live feed. I've
Oh,
had it
you know
show.
what? Yeah, I don't know if it'll let me even put it in the comments section until after we're done broadcasting, will it? Because I don't even see where comments are turned on here. Yeah, maybe it won't post it as a comment until after we're done. Anyway, all right. Well, after we're done broadcasting, I'll make sure I go in there and do that.
Right.
So anyway, that's the link to the book there. And let's see. I don't think it was this one.
All right, so let's do our final thing here, and
Working on it. I'm working on it. Yeah, I'm
I'm
working
working
on
on
it.
it.
I'm working here. I'm working here. So there we go. You want to donate to Kirk? By all means, help us keep this bad rascal going. And
Yep. So if you would like to help support me over here and paying the bills and keeping this all up and running and going, you can donate to my office address there, 6477 West Fairview Avenue, Suite C, Charlie, Boise, Idaho 83705. You can do postal money orders, regular money orders, cashier's checks, cash wrapped in aluminum foil. Thank you. You can do through PayPal or Cash App as well. And PayPal is just Kirk pendergrass@hotmail.com, and then the Cash App is the $ KPen71, and I believe it is case sensitive, so it is capital KP capital KP and then lowercase en71. And I do want to thank those that have made donations, books and shirts and uh, cash wrapped in aluminum foil and checks. I'll even take personal checks. The bank holds them for a few days, but that's okay. I appreciate the support. However, you feel you'd like to help support us over here, I greatly appreciate it.
Yep. And that's how you can reach me. Best way is that's my address right there. That's my PayPal. I also have the Patreon. And the good news is when girls get back from their vacation, they're going to have a lot of time to start uploading stuff onto the Patreon site. So they're finishing up their vacation, and they should all be back at it here real quick. I told them take a couple of weeks off because they just been busting their butt, on various elements of the project. So they took me at my word and said take some time off, and so because I had other stuff to catch up on anyway. So knowing government works at the speed of government, uh we still don't know what that is yet, but we're working on it. Which is why I always say you want to see it again, because apparently to them I work so fast they can't even keep up. And uh so yeah, the stuff on Patreon that's about to get complete. That's about to ramp up big time. So there's going to have different links to different elements of the projects that we're working on. They'll be on the Patreon site as well. So
Yeah, somebody just brought up a good point. I don't know why I never thought of it. You could send gold or silver.
right.
real lawful tender.
Right. Yeah. Or wait a minute.
And actually, I did. Somebody did actually send me two silver coins.
Then there's global currency.
Synthetic.
Right.
Is that full or blended?
No. This is Syntec. This is the full synthetic.
Full synthetic.
Full synthetic right there, baby. This is the expensive shit right here. So,
oh lordy,
that's just drinking.
No, I didn't say that.
What?
You sucker.
You broke it.
I was trying to close a little notification there, and then it tried to take me somewhere else. I'm like, no.
Right on.
Anyway, thanks for the likes, the follows, the shares out there on Facebook, and the subscriptions and the thumbs up over here on YouTube. Keep them coming, please.
Yep, you betcha.
And of course, share both Facebook and YouTube. So if you have not yet had a chance to watch the 8 episodes in the educational series, both Facebook and YouTube, and for those of you on YouTube who are having a hard time digging through the videos to see those 1 through 8, I have put them in a playlist. So Kirk's Law Corner YouTube channel has a playlist. I guess that's how that works. You can view the playlist of Kirk's Law Corner, and it is in that playlist now.
Right.
So all in one nice little sweet playlist package there. Same thing with Facebook. I figured that one out a while ago. I didn't know how to do it in YouTube. So I finally sat down the other day and just did it. So
right.
Other than that, much love to everyone out there. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you in the after show if you're going to join us in the after show. And for the rest of you, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on Monday Night Law.
Have a nice weekend, everybody.